Thank you everybody for joining us for our webinar today. This is going to be the first in a weekly series that we do every Tuesday at this time. Today's title is Getting the Non-QM Advantage with A&D Mortgage this year. So we'll go ahead and get started. So quickly, we'll introduce ourselves. My name's Carl Holman. I am the Direct Communications Manager here at A&D Mortgage, and today's primary presenter will be Mark Glazer. We'll go through the topics here about the company, the outlook for non-QM. We'll review some programs and some of our upcoming technology. For the purposes of this webinar, we've muted everyone's microphone and the chat feature so that we can stay focused. If you have questions, there's a Q&A section down at the bottom where you can type in your questions. We'll address all the questions at the end of the formal presentation part. And if you have an urgent thing, you can use the little raise your hand feature. And then just, I'll try to message you privately. And then if it's possible, just keep your cell phones off just so that you're focused on what we're discussing. That includes you, Mark, with your phone in the background. So I will turn it over to you, Mark. Mark is our wholesale team manager covering predominantly the East Coast. You have well over 20 years of experience dealing in the brokerage world. So he's probably one of the most authoritative people to discuss this topic. So take it away, Mark.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to A&D Mortgage's online discussion. We are a full-service mortgage banker. We also are supported by an Imperial fund, which helps us as a hedge fund, which allows us to create warehouse lines and create industry-wide relationships in order to provide you with the best programs and best rates that we create ourselves and that we bring to you. So given the map that you see here, we are mostly in about 37 to 40 states. We're licensed in everywhere from Arizona, California, all the way through Virginia to do primary and second homes. And then there's about 37 to 40 states which allow us to do unlicensed, which are the investor business purpose loans. We're able to do those loans where you don't need to be a licensed mortgage broker. You could just carry an LLC. And some of the favorite spots for that are New York, North Carolina, Florida, where a license is not necessary if you're doing a business purpose loan, investor loan. So pretty much the Mortgage Bankers Association is saying that in 2022, there's a large growth ability since we've left the pandemic and the lower realm of growth. And now they're expecting to be a really great opportunity for non-QM in business in 2022. So with a full Doc non-QM, it allows you to do a condominium at 90% loan to value. And at 90%, we only need 8% reserves for a condominium. It's pretty cool. So that works for us. Moving on, 1 year and 2 year profit and losses. The uniqueness about our 1 year and 2 year P&L is the fact that no bank statements are required. Just a tax preparer or CPA putting together a third-party letter that the borrower currently owns the company and that they've owned it for at least 2 or more years, what the company does, percentage of ownership, and with that, a 1 year or 2 year profit and loss, basically showing the gross income at the top and itemized expenses. No bank statements are needed to support this. So that's a wonderful program when you don't have bank statements to support you or tax returns to support you. The P&L is great. Now, the P&L also could be used for sole proprietor and Schedule C parties. So with sole proprietor and Schedule C parties, let's say if you are a truck driver, you show me a Schedule C license, a C class, and we could work it with that, and you could do a P&L that they've had this license at least 2 or more years. Pretty neat stuff. We move on to our 12 and 24-month bank statements. You provide us currently with the February bank statement of 21 to January 22. And with that, I take the bank statements and we put them in an Excel file, determine what's usable and not usable in the income. And then from there, we get the same third-party letter about ownership. And then if the third-party letter states what percentage of expenses, we go with that. If the third-party letter does not state percentage of expenses, we then go with 50%. The DTI at A&D Mortgage is up to 50%, but if you're doing a primary residence purchase, we could go up to 55% DTI. Continuing on for those programs. Okay, so one of our famous programs is the DSCR loan for investors. So if you have an investor who currently owns a home, they're our primary borrower, they're purchasing an investment property. If you have an investor that owns a home and owns investor property, that's great. If you have an investor that currently is renting, but has owned a home in the last 24 months, we could do an investor like that on our DSCR loan, which is pretty cool. Moving along, in a case where a borrower is renting, let's say in New York, and they want to buy an investor product here in the South Florida region or wherever in the United States, as long as the distance makes sense, we've done exceptions for a borrower who currently doesn't own, hasn't had ownership in the last 24 months, but with exceptions, we could do a DSCR loan if the loan makes sense. Asset utilization. If you have a borrower where they have a large amount of assets in bank accounts, checking, saving, and investments, as you could see, we could do asset utilization all by itself, counting cash as cash 100%, securities as 90, retirements as 70, and we divide the net result by a factor of 60. So you'll call me and we could review that, or you call your account executive and they'll go over what you have in assets. Generally, you need 6 months of bank statements to proof those assets. And again, exceptions are there if there's less, given an understanding what the story would be. We also do foreign nationals, which is one of our prime products. We could do a foreign national anywhere in the world. We even do Venezuela. In those circumstances, we could do generally up to 80 on a single family. Great pricing on single families at 75, and limited project review at 70 for condominiums. We also offer the DSCR loan, the no income loan on that program. And with that, you could do a no income on a foreign national doing an investor purchase. We move on to the VOE and our 1099 program. In the VOE and the 1099 program, let's call it the 1099, for instance. We would, if you've been working for the same company for a 2-year period, and you provide us with 20 and 21 1099 with a year to date, there's no haircut. We could take that VOE with the verifiable 1099s, and you're good for the income for the average. Again, the VOE, WVOE is if you are employed, not self-employed like a 1099, and you're working for small mom and pops, we will take a VOE only loan from that program as well. And it's whatever it is, as long as it's an established business and you've been there for 2 years.
And Mark, before we move on, there was a question from Ariana related to the DSCR loans.
Yeah.
And can these be used to purchase homes in Mexico or the Caribbean?
Okay, so currently we are only doing purchases in the continental United States.
Okay. All right. Hopefully that answers your question, Ariana.
One more thing about the DSCR. Glad you brought me back to that. We take the 1007 rent schedule on the DSCR loan at 100% of the 1007 rent schedule. We use that when we're determining the income on the property. If it debt services at equal to 1, we could do up to 80% loan to value. At 75% loan to value on the DSCR loan, it doesn't even have to debt service. We're also able to do condo hotels, which is pretty unique, as well as regular condominiums. Questions?
All right. Nope, not yet. So I'll move on. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so we're talking about the properties that we do. We do condo hotels. We do condo hotels. We do regular condominiums. We do rural property at 70% loan to value. We have all the opportunity to do these loans. And we're able to do all those loans at this opportunity. Income eligibility. We do go down to 580 credit scores, but it just all determines about why you have a 580 score. And pretty much if you're at issue on a 580 credit score, then we need to determine why it's there. Did you have a bankruptcy? Did you have a foreclosure? Did you have a short sale? Our programs, we have 2 types. We have our super prime that allows you to do up to 24 months and 1 day to have a problem. And then we have our prime program, which allows you to do 12 months and 1 day out of bankruptcy, foreclosures, and short sales. We also have our non-perm program, which we have a variety of EAD cards, the worker permits, like the CO8s and CO9s. I urge you all to go to the front page of my website, to go to the our documents and forms, and to go to the non-QM guidelines and scroll to the bottom, and they'll tell you all the different types of EAD cards that we do for the non-permanents. And again, the foreign nationals, 75% is a lot that we promote a lot, because that's where the good 5% rates are in those different programs. Any questions?
No, we'll get to the questions towards the end. But
Okay. Continuing on. So what do we have? We have the ability through our broker support to help you with uploads. We have the ability with our account executives, the AEs. They're able to help you with all of your various scenarios that you may have. Our underwriters are in-house, so that you're getting an underwriter that is on, that basically a personal touch. And if you're unable to do your own review of bank statements, and if your account executive is not available, we offer a concierge service in order to do the bank statement review. But I urge you, once you've done the review, show it to your account executive so that everybody is on the same page. Recently, we just came up with our new appraisal center, which gives you an ease of appraising and the ordering of the appraisals. Our AD studio, if you've seen it on the front page of our website, allows you to create your own flyers, so don't miss that. And the new AD quick pricer. So before, you had to go to rate sheets and you had to go look through them and scroll. Now you can go to the front page of my website, admortgage.com, click quick pricer at the top, and you could run multiple of scenarios. But remember, in running those scenarios, it will not run the prime program scenario. You'll need to talk to your account executive or pull up the prime rate sheet. And again, that's for issues with, let's say you have DTI issues, you have credit score issues, you have bankruptcy foreclosures issues. That's our prime program, 12 months and 1 day out of bankruptcy. So here you have the different programs, and here's where you'll be able to look at it if you go on to the front page of my website to be able to do that. Any questions? So the next seminars that we have, as you could see, would be February 15th. And then we have a DSCR seminar at February 22nd, the profit and loss, the foreign nationals, and the self-employments. All of these are available to you. We're trying to do them on a weekly basis to help you and to answer any questions that you may have. So one more thing, we are available on the various social medias that are available, from Facebook to LinkedIn and such. And we're there to help you. You can visit these various sites, and A&D Mortgage has links there, and you can see additional information with A&D. So if
Okay.
you're interested in becoming a partner and you have yet to join with A&D Mortgage, you could go to the admortgage.com website. You could go to resources. You then go to documents and forms, and there you can have the Become Approved Broker package. It's available to you all the time.
Okay, and with that, I'll go ahead and I'm going to unmute folks. We've got enough people that we can probably just do live Q&A instead of doing the type feature. So give me a second. I'll start turning on microphones for people that want to ask questions. All right, through the Ds.
Okay. Anybody with questions?
Yeah, I'm just it doesn't let me bulk unmute people.
Oh.
I'm trying to find somebody just raised their hands. Give me just a second. We've got quite a few folks. All right, I'm in the end.
Okay, I see some of your questions. One of them has a question about taking advantage of our no license required. So pretty much, if you're able to do these loans, you would look on our rate sheet. I believe we could go to the rate sheets, and you're going to find what states we are able to do investment loans. So for Ariana, if you go to admortgage.com/rates, and at admortgage.com/rates, you input our code AD Mortgage is the password, lowercase. Pull up the rate sheet, let's call it, for the DSCR. And in the rate sheet, towards the bottom, are the list of the states of which you do not need to be licensed to do an investor property. So if you're doing investor properties, business purpose properties only, investment loans, non-QM, and you do not need to be licensed in those states. Currently, we are not doing rehabs or anything of that. We're not doing rehabs and new constructions right now. Any other questions? Puerto Rico, we're currently not lending in Puerto Rico.
Okay, do you see this? Ariana had a question about.
Yes, I've answered that question. Okay. In reference to multifamily, we do 1 to 4 units right now, and the DSCR loan is perfect for that program.
Okay.
That's from Roland.
Yeah, Roland's got 2 questions. One just came in from Laura. Do you report to personal credit for business purposes?
That would be a question for servicing at admortgage.com. You could ask a question to them. That's our servicing department.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then Roland had a question about maximum loan amounts up to 3 million.
We do the 3 million, and then we do exceptions over 3 million on case-by-case basis. We do 4 million. I've seen loans do 5 million. It just depends on credit score and the backgrounds.
Okay.
Let's see who else.
Now I've unmuted, so if folks want to actually ask, there's a couple more that just came in.
Okay. The mixed use is also on an exception basis. So if you have something to the effect like properties we have here in South Florida, where maybe there's a store below, and then there is a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom condo above, those are opportunities that we would ask our exception desk. Currently, we're not doing any land loans.
Hi, somebody has a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Ariana again. So I used to be a wholesale AE and subprime, and Lehman Brothers was my last one that I was employed with. So I know then we had to go through all the various brokers. I've been in real estate since then. So if I have some clients on the real estate side who could certainly use your products, am I having to go find a broker that you've authorized, or can we send them directly to you? How does that work?
No, well, Ariana, do you have an LLC?
I do.
You could set up as an LLC to do investor business purpose loans here at A&D Mortgage.
But if I am in Maryland, DC, Virginia, I have to have a lender license then, right?
It's state by state.
Okay.
So there's about 37 to 40 states that do not require licenses for non-QM investor business purpose loans.
So the investor would have to be the buyer. They'd have to be buying in a business name as well. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, just it could be a personal name or a business name, but the loan needs to be a non-QM investor business purpose loan.
Understood.
1 to 4 units.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay. Roland had a follow-up question about land.
yeah, we currently do not do land loans. For the mixed use, Lewis, if you currently have an account executive, you could email to that account executive, and it would be on a exception basis when you have the loan ready to go. He or she could do an exception prior to submission to see if that party would, if that mixed use property would be acceptable. Questions?
All right. We'll give people another minute to think it over.
Okay. We have more Q&A. Let's see if we have any more questions. Alex, do you have any questions?
Hello. No, I'm not. I don't have questions. I'm the account manager in AD Mortgage. I just curiously to listen and presentation about program AD Mortgage. That's all. But thank you that you look at me, see me.
So anybody else in the group that may have any questions at all? I see multiple brokers out there who are signed up with us. Anybody with our group? Anybody have any questions? Russell, do you have any questions? Alex? Anybody from the R&J group? Anybody have any questions? Okay.
I think we're
all right.
Yes, hello.
Oh,
yes.
There's me.
Who's that?
Hello, Mark. This is John. I'm new here at A&D Mortgage. How are you doing?
Excellent, sir. How can I be of service?
I just had a quick question regarding programs. May come up as dumb, but I just wanted to know what differentiates essentially a prime from a super prime program.
So, as I mentioned before, we have two ways of looking at a borrower's credit. A borrower having credit events occurred 12 months and 1 day ago, and borrowers who had credit events that occurred 24 months and 1 day ago. So if you could bring up on the screen the programs with like super prime and such. Okay. So under the super prime program, let's say, I think that's page 2. Let's see, is it on page 2?
No, we didn't have the super prime or the prime specifics of
So here's how it would operate. We have two rate sheets, super prime and prime. If you had a credit event, foreclosure, bankruptcy, short sale, 12 months and 1 day ago, or if you have credit right now, where if you need 2 pieces of credit 2 years old, or 3 pieces of credit 1 year old, And if you don't meet that criteria, maybe you only have one credit line that's giving you a credit score, then you're able to do the prime rate sheet. And if you have 12 months and 1 day, if you have 12 months and 1 day at a bankruptcy foreclosure short sale, you would be able to do that on our prime program. Now, if for super prime, which has better rates than the prime program, then you're looking at credit events that occurred in 24 months and 1 day. And you're able to have, you can't have late payments on a mortgage in the last 12 months. You can have late payments on a mortgage 30 days in the last 12 months on the prime program. So the prime is when you have issues with credit, issues with some mortgage lates, and issues with credit events 12 months in 1 day. The super prime has credit events over 24 months in 1 day, and so on.
Okay, so it goes to how long it has been since the credit event. Super prime explains a little bit why the rate is a little bit more advantageous.
Correct. So you always look at super prime first,
Mhm.
and then you backpedal to the perhaps when you have an issue with credit, lack of credit, limited trade lines that you may need to move to the prime program.
Okay, all right. So great. So super prime is always something to aim for, and after that, if it doesn't qualify, we go to prime.
Correct.
Okay, awesome. That sounds good. Thank you so much.
Hey,
You're
Mark,
very welcome.
there was a follow-up question. If you could go over the P&L CPA and the P&L requirements.
Okay, so
And
let's
borrower
talk
housing
about one more
requirements again.
time profit and loss. So the two ways that we could do profit and loss loans are for two types of parties. Party number one has owned an LLC or a corporation for a minimum of 2 or more years. A third party CPA or tax preparer puts a letter together, describes that you own it, how long, percentage of ownership, what the company does. That's one type of client. Another type of client, let's call them, I don't know, a physical therapist, for instance, which may be getting multiple income sources from nurses, registries, and such. They have a license. So a typical letter, perhaps, for a party like a physical therapist with a license would be, you're the tax preparer for that party. That party is a sole proprietor, Schedule C, licensed physical therapist since what date? We're looking for 2 or more years. The same could hold true for, let's say, a barber or a cosmetologist. Each state requires you to be licensed. So you could have the same kind of letter as long as they've been licensed for 2 or more years. And then they have what they do. And then finally, the profit and loss is a profit and loss with a gross income at the top and itemized expenses. Business expenses is what they're looking for. Signed and dated by the CPA or tax preparer, either 1 year to get you up to 80 or 2 years to get you to 85 LTV, depending, of course, on your credit score. So you have an LLC or corp for 2 or more years, or you have some type of a licensing, or I've even seen if you're doing, let's say, business online, and you could put your finger on what you do, and there's a website, a web store or something, and the CPA acknowledges that you've had a Schedule C business in that, there are opportunities for borrowers of that nature as well. I hope that answers your question. Any more questions? Okay.
Yeah, we still have a few minutes left if you guys have questions. Otherwise, we can wrap up a
I'm
little
looking
early.
at the Q&A. Let's see.
No,
So, okay, let's look. Okay, any more questions? Okay, I see the CPA, the P&L. Oh, borrower's housing requirements. Well, here's the interesting part. If you're purchasing a primary residence and previously you rented, we only care that you describe what your 2-year rental history is, just putting it down. That's all we verify on that nature. That goes for that. Everything else goes with a standard situation for, you know, what is the DTI on going forward. Anything else?
Okay, well,
So-
again, we'll just remind everyone, if you're interested in any of the other webinars, you can go sign up for them straight off the A&D Mortgage website. And when you close out this session, there'll be a brief 5-question survey to give us some feedback on how you think it went, technical, power failures barring. So we hope that you've found the information useful. Thank you, Mark, for leading a really good discussion, and we hope to see you all again next week or at a later webinar.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Any more questions before we go? Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Glaze.